Welcome to this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind, produced by Souza Media, where we recap all the weekend's racing as part of the 75th anniversary season of the Action Track of the East. The Seekonk Speedway podcast series is a production of Seekonk Speedway and Souza Media. For more information on Souza Media, visit kylesouza.com. And for more information on Seekonk Speedway, visit seekonkspeedway.com. Hello, race fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Seekonk Speedway podcast series. This time, a race day rewind from Saturday night, June 5th, 2021. We're going to talk about all the racing for all four of the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series divisions, and we're going to catch up with two more guests. Everett's Auto Parts late model winner Josh Hedges and Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck top 5 finisher Amy Arsenault. Welcome back to the podcast series presented by Souza Media. My name is Kyle Souza, the owner of Souza Media. So happy to be back with you for another edition of the Race Day Rewind, as we've now had 5 NASCAR Saturday nights in the 2021 season after what obviously was an extremely tough 2020. Feels good to be back to a somewhat normal season. Nice to be back to full capacity and feel like normal again here as the 2021 season gets underway. Let's recap the action in this format. We're going to talk about first the Hilger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman and the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. After we talk about those two divisions, we're going to take a break. We're going to hear from Amy Arsenault, who had a nice solid finish in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck feature. A 4th place finish, her best effort of her career in her first 5 races. So we'll chat with her about that. We'll take a break, come back. We will talk about the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series, round number 1. 60 laps it was for the Pro Stock division. See who picked up that feature win. And then we'll check out the Everett's Auto Parts late model division, and we will speak with their winner, Josh Hedges. The late models are off to an impressive start. 5 wins in the first 5 races for 5 different drivers. That's impressive at the 3rd mile. That is definitely our most competitive division and is one of the most competitive divisions all across New England. Never mind just at Seekonk Speedway. Saturday night was DAI Restore night at the races. Now you saw the trucks at the track for DAI Restore. Sandra, their whole gang coming on board this year as a sponsor, and so happy to have them at the track on Saturday night. They had a great time, enjoyed visiting us at the Speedway, had the pavilion, they had a little bit of a pizza party in the pavilion and watched the Saturday night racing, and all positive from them. They had a great time. It was so nice to have them on board for 2021, and also nice that they elected to come down and join us for a Saturday night at the track. Always good to see a sponsor come out and enjoy themselves at the track. DAI Restore is a full-service emergency service disaster restoration company, and they specialize in commercial and residential restoration. You can visit them online at www.daillc.com. You can also visit them on Facebook, and they are a family-owned company, which is really important to them and all of us. So welcome to Seekonk Speedway, and thanks for joining us for NASCAR Saturday night this past weekend. All right, let's get into the feature winners, and we've had 3 cars dominate 3 different divisions this year, and it was really no different on Saturday night. Let's talk about the Hilger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman and their 25-lap main event. Chad Baxter had come into the race having won 3 out of the first 4 races, and when the checkered flag falls on Saturday night, Chad Baxter picks up his 4th win in the first 5 races of the season. And he does it in very impressive fashion once again, coming from the back of the field up to the front, not even really a contest again. And that's a testament to what that RLS Performance team has been able to do, obviously, over the winter. They had Ryan Lanham pick up a late model win in his first bout out with a brand new car. He's been running in the Pro Stocks and has run well. Chad Baxter in the Sportsman, unbeatable here in the beginning part of the season, and something we have not seen in the Sportsman division in many, many years. I cannot remember a sportsman this dominant, and Chad Baxter has certainly figured out what they need under the hood of that number 0. So Baxter waxes the field again. Man, he's quick. Joe Kohler and Corey Fanning join him on the podium. Now, Kohler, good start to the season for him. Had a disqualification a couple of weeks ago, rebounded from that. Nice, solid second-place finish. And Corey Fanning joins him on the podium, and I believe that was Fanning's first podium of the season for the defending champion. Surprising. I mean, Fanning was the dominant car in 2019, picking up the title. He's been one of the dominant cars the last couple of racing seasons, Not this year so far. So we'll see if Fanning is finding his groove here finally in the Sportsman, the Everett's Auto Parts number 11. But a nice solid third place finish for him. Chris Rio also had a nice run inside the top 5. He's quietly been up there this year at the bottom of the top 5 or just outside the top 5. So he has a nice solid fourth place finish on Saturday night, driving the number 3. And then fifth we had Colby Lambert in the number 54. Good racing from second on back in the Sportsman here in the first couple of weeks of the season. It's not that it hasn't been a good race for the lead, but Chad Baxter has really waxed the field. So it makes it a little bit difficult for some of the other competitors if they want to get to victory lane. But Joe Kohler said it best on the track. They've got to do their homework a little bit more if they want to catch, it looks like, that number 0 in the Sportsman division. So Baxter's 4 out of 5, and he's opened up a healthy points lead in the Sportsman after the first 5 weeks of the season. In the Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck, similar to the Everett's Auto Parts late models, not similar to the Everett's Auto Parts late models, similar to the Sportsman and the Pro Stocks, we've had one driver dominate the Sport Truck division here in the first 5 weeks of the season, and that driver is Barry Shaw Jr. He's been extremely impressive behind the wheel with a brand new truck. It's been no doubt basically every Saturday night, similar to Chad Baxter, that Barry Shaw is going to be the car you have to beat if you want to get yourself to victory lane. And Saturday night, much of the same for the Everett's Auto Parts number 85. Another victory behind the wheel. The Sport Truck for him, that brand new truck in 2021, is suiting him extremely well. And it's been a real impressive run for Chad Baxter in the Sportsman and Barry Shaw in the Everett's Auto Parts the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. Man, I'm stumbling over that this morning. But Barry Shaw picks up a 4th win in the first 5 weeks for him in the Sport Trucks. Congratulations to that entire team. They have been impressive. Unlike some of the other Sport Truck competitors that have been struggling early, he has not struggled at all behind the wheel and picks up another win. Great battle for second coming down to the line. Mike Duarte and the Radical One, Rick Martin, both former champions of the division, pick up impressive runs right to the end. Podium finishes for them behind the wheels of the number 50 for Duarte and the number 14 for Radical Rick Martin. Now, Martin, the only driver in the Sport Trucks to pick up a win that is not named Barry Shaw so far in 2021. So strong run for them in the podium on Saturday night. Barry's been the dominant truck, but Amy Arsenault has been the consistent truck, right around the top 5 or so every single week behind the wheel of that number 9. And for those who don't know Amy, she is a former competitor on the Friday night series in our Fast Friday Pure Stock division. She has moved up to the Sport Trucks this year, and man, she has been impressive behind the wheel of that Moe's Moving number 9. Some impressive stuff from Amy Arsenault here in the first 5 weeks of the season, and because of that, we are going to talk with her. Let's take a quick break. We will welcome her in and hear about her early season success in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. Stick with us. All right, welcome back from the break. Here, our first break on the Race Day Rewind podcast. Again, recapping what happened on Saturday, June 5th. We're catching up with our first guest as part of the podcast this year as part of the Rewind that is not a feature winner. But this driver has obviously earned her way onto the podcast with solid runs here to open the season in the Sport Truck division. Amy Arsenault is with us after another solid run this past Saturday night. Top 5 run again. Amy, you've been in the top 5 countless times here in your first couple weeks in the Sport Trucks of racing. But let's go back to last year. You kind of moved out of the Pure Stocks, set to debut in the Sport Trucks, and then COVID hits, and you don't get to run any races. How frustrating was that to get yourself, your mindset a little bit different, go back to the Pure Stock, and now finally get back in the truck this year and get out there in a race?
It was real frustrating for me. I came from the Pure Stocks, always driving it automatic, had no idea how to shift. So just even driving through the pits is a struggle for me. I spent a lot of times driving an old Jetta around an industrial park with my dad, and then jumped into the truck and did some laps around in that outside, just to get the feel of things. So that, I think that was the thing that made me most frustrated, is I didn't really get the practice or the seat time that I wanted to.
Yeah, and now, so you jumped into the truck this year. You had a couple practices to get under your belt a little bit more. I know you practiced it a couple times last year as part of some of the rentals and stuff like that. But you get out there in a race this year. Is it different than the Pure Stock? I mean, it looks like you've jumped in and been comfortable pretty quickly here, but I imagine it's at least a little bit different in that division compared to what you were running, and a little bit different circumstances on a Friday night.
It's a lot different, and I will say everyone should give those Friday night drivers a lot more credit, because I will say it's a lot easier to drive this race truck than it is to handle a pure stock. They're not easy to drive at all, so that made the transition a little bit easier for me.
Wow. So Amy's that's surprising actually. So the sport truck's a little bit easier for her, and she's shown it with her finishes in the first 4 or 5 weeks. I think 5 weeks of the season now. It's hard to believe we're that far into it. But Amy, you've got to be happy with the way you've been running. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised to see you up there towards the front, and I feel like with the way the truck is, a win might not be too far around the corner here for you. I know you probably don't want to jump ahead too fast, but you've had some speed and been strong.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what I've done. I'm obviously proud of my crew and everything they've done to help me, and I have a strong team behind me, so I really have to give them the credit. I just kind of get in and drive. I don't really know much about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's worked, and I know your dad's probably a big part of this as well, too. That's also something that I know you value a lot, spending time with him at the track, and it has to have been cool to make this move with him there and him being by your side in the pits and everything. That must be cool as well.
It's cool, but it's also really hard. We have a really small team on race day, so now I'm kind of a man down. I don't have my dad. He can't help a lot because we're, in and out of cars and back and forth, but it's nice to be able to spend the time together, and that's what we really wanted, and that's why we raced together.
Yeah, and Amy's going to be back this coming Saturday night trying to get to victory lane in her number 9 truck. Is that the goal this year? Are you looking for your first career win? I can imagine that's something that's at least been on your mind here as the weeks start to click off.
Oh, it's always a goal to win. I mean, that's the best part, but honestly, finishing 4th last week, that was a win for me because it was my best finish yet, and just being consistent every week has really been like a victory for our team.
Yeah, so Amy's going to hope to do that again this coming Saturday night. Amy, any sponsors? I know you got some sponsors on that great truck. Really looks good as well. I mentioned you have a small crew, but I'm sure you want to give some of them a shout out here as we wrap here in this edition.
Of course. My sponsors, I have to thank Mo's Moving, Chaz's Auto Body, my Auntie Robin and Uncle Johnny, and then my crew. I can't thank Jeff and Ronnie Pond enough for taking this truck as their COVID project and kind of taking it apart and put it back together. And then my crew at the track, my dad, Jay, and my niece, Hannah.
Amy's got a lot of great supporters behind her, a lot of great sponsors behind her, and she's going to hopefully be en route to Everett's Auto Parts Victory Lane, which is going to open this week. I'll get to that in a minute so the fans can come up and join some of the drivers. But Amy, thanks for a few minutes here on the podcast. We look forward to talking to you hopefully soon after what hopefully is going to be your first career win.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, that's been Amy Arsenault. We'll take a quick break. We will come back and recap the Pro Stock feature, and we'll wrap with the Everett's Auto Parts late models. Stick with us. Welcome back from the break here on the Race Day Rewind Report from Saturday night, June 5th, 2021. Thanks to Amy Arsenault for joining us. Great insight from her about what it's been like to compete in the sport truck division here in 2021 after jumping up from the Friday nights in the pure stock division. Very interesting to me to hear that the sport truck drives much easier than the Fast Friday pure stock. That's something to keep in mind with how our Fast Friday drivers do things as part of their series in 2021. Let's move on to the Pro Stock division from this past Saturday night. It was round 1 of the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series for them. 60 laps in distance this year. Now, the Triple Crown races previously had been 75 laps a couple of years ago, then had been 65. Now they're down to 60, but a nice little extra distance race. 20 laps more than normal. Enough for these guys to sort it out on the track, and also enough for them to kind of run those tires another time and not have to kind of throw them away after too many laps on them. So win-win for everybody in the Pro Stocks, and another win goes to Dave Darling behind the wheel of the Johnson's Landscaping Bristol Toyota number 52. Another very impressive run for Dave. Started outside the top 4 or 5 rows, dominates again, drives right through the field. It took him a little bit, though. I mean, he didn't get the lead officially for the final time until lap 37. So a normal 40-lap feature, he would have been there right at the end. Just enough time, though, with a 60-lap race for him to get out front and pull away, run some good lap times at the end, and pick up the victory by about a second and a half over another solid podium. Tom Scully Jr. picked up a win. I believe it was in week 2. We talked to him right there on the podcast. He comes home second. Nice solid run for him after a couple of weeks of struggling. And Dylan Estrella has been somewhat quiet here in the first 5 weeks of the season. He's been running inside the top 5 or 6, but been quiet for what we consider Dylan Estrella. For some reason, they haven't quite had enough speed to win, but they've had enough speed to run consistently in the front. And at this point of the season, early on, running consistency is definitely going to benefit him as the season goes along. So, Estrella, a nice solid third place finish. Ryan Kuhn grabs a nice solid fourth place finish behind the wheel of the Everett's Auto Parts number 72 and Radical Rick Martin. We talked about him in a strong run in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. He comes home with a nice solid fifth place finish, another top 5 run for him in the Pro Stock division. So, solid finishes for everybody in the Pro Stock division that finished in the top 5. Nice consistent runs. However, some other guys had some problems in the 60-lap feature event. Some that we expected maybe to run towards the front, not doing so. Mike Brightman, who had basically led most of the race the week prior, not having such a great night on Saturday night. They just missed it a little bit, it looks like, with the handling. Led some laps early, but he faded late to the bottom of the top 5. Was probably looking at a 5th or 6th place finish. Wasn't going to be a bad night, and he lost control coming off turn 4, spun late, and finished way back in, I believe it was 15th position. So, tough break for Brightman. However, Kenny Spencer, also in the same situation as him. Now, Kenny, a former champion of the Pro Stock division, is also struggling here in his return in 2021. He finished 16th after taking only 35 laps. So we'll see if they can turn that around as the season gets underway. Updated Pro Stock point standings. Dave Darling sets the pace. He leads by 32 over Ryan Kuhn. Dylan Estrella is another 10 back, so 42 back. Rick Martin is 4th. And Ryan Van Ness also been quiet here. 7th place finish last Saturday for Van Ness. He's 5th in the points, but been a quiet opener for Ryan Van Ness. Look back for a second at the Sport Truck points. Barry Shaw obviously leading that. And in the Sportsman, I mentioned it is Chad Baxter. All right, our final feature from Saturday night was the Everett's Auto Parts late model division. 30 laps on Saturday night for a division that came into the night with 4 winners in the first 4 races of the season. Now, we've just talked about the domination of some of our drivers, Dave Darling, Chad Baxter, and Barry Shaw. Now let's talk about the undomination of the late model division. It's been dang impressive to see what these guys have been able to do in the first 5 weeks of the season. Every Saturday night when you show up to the track, I swear there's at least 10 cars in the field that under the right circumstances could pick up a win on any given night. And Saturday night, for the 5th time this season, we had a different winner cross the stripe first and visit Everett's Auto Parts victory lane. Josh Hedges gets back to the winner's circle at Seekonk. The former Sport Truck champion and multiple-time Sport Truck winner picks up his first career Seekonk late model win. He also picked up some wins and a championship in a little bit of time away at the Star Speedway up in New Hampshire, but he is back for 2021 and back in winning form at the 3rd mile. Dominating win for him, took the lead just before the halfway point, battled Chase Belcher very hard. They went side by side for the lead. Again, the late models are impressive. Wicked impressive. If you haven't seen the video, check out our YouTube channel, Seekonk Speedway TV. Go subscribe to YouTube and watch the video from Saturday night. Man, goosebumps watching that thing. 30 laps around the track, side by side for the lead for a good 10 or 12 in a row between Josh and Chase Belcher. Race with a lot of respect, and I think that's something in the late model division that we've been wanting, and we're getting. A lot of respect between these drivers all around as the 2021 season gets underway. They haven't wrecked a lot of equipment. Knock on wood, let me see. But overall, it's been a real solid run for the late models in 2021. And for Josh Hedges, excited to pick up his first win of the year and his first win in a return to the Everett's Auto Parts late model division this year. Richie Murray. Wow, 2nd place for Richie Murray. Very impressive behind the wheel of the number 08. Richie coming into this season in the Sport Trucks. They elected to make the jump to the late models, got a car from a good friend of theirs, and all of a sudden, in round 2, his 2nd race of the season and his 2nd career late model race, Richie Murray gets the job done. Nice podium finish for him in 2nd. 3rd place going to Vinny Renegato. Been a quiet start to the year, in my opinion, for Renegato. He won on opening day. You haven't heard much from him over the last couple of weeks, but he's consistently in the top 5. Every time the checkered flag flies, you see a Renegato there. The week prior, a 2nd place finish. 2 weeks prior to that, a 4th place finish, a 3rd place finish. He's got 1 finish outside the top 10, but otherwise 4 top 5s in the first 5 races for Vinny, and the same for Josh Hedges. Those 2 drivers are the only 2 to finish in the top 5 in the first 5 races of the season. So Hedges wins, Murray second, Arredogato third, Charlie Rose, nice run for him for fourth, and Chase Belcher had a solid 5th place finish. Tommy Adams, the former champion, the defending champion of this division, was 6th. Jerry DeGasperi had a nice string of top 5 finishes going. Coming into the race, not a top 5 finish. He finished 13th after spinning late. So the late models, impressive once again on Saturday night. Watch that video. You will not regret it. All right, we're going to take our final break before we welcome in another guest. Maybe have one more break after that. We're going to welcome in one more guest. It is the winner, Josh Hedges, behind the wheel of the Hedges Excavating number 29. He will join us to chat about his victory in the 30-lap feature, and we will also hear from another driver coming up next week, probably from this late model division, as I'm suspecting we might get a 6th winner in 6 races with everything that's been going on here in the Everts Auto Parts late models so far in 2021. For now, take a break for a moment. We will come back and welcome in Josh Hedges. All right, welcome back from the break. Our final guest of this week's edition of the Race Day Rewind podcast. We spoke with Amy Arsenault earlier. After a couple strong runs here in the sports trucks to start the year, this driver has also had some strong runs in his division. He's coming off a victory this past Saturday night in the Everts Auto Parts late models, the 5th different winner in the first 5 races of the season. And if you look at the updated late model championship standings, he is right there in the number 2 position, just 10 points off Vinny Renegado at the top. Josh Hedges has joined us. And Josh, you know, we've mentioned before here in the podcast to open the season when we previewed the late model division, you were coming back this year in the late models after a year away, maybe 2 years away. Former sport truck champion coming back here in the late models. It must feel good to be back home before we get to what happened this week. Just to be back home, back driving 20 or 30 minutes to get to the track here and back with all your friends and family at the local short track.
Yeah, first off, Kyle, thanks for having me, and it's definitely nice to be home. Competition's definitely a lot tougher. It was nice to get away for a little while, get some experience, and it's fun to be back.
So Josh has returned to the late models in pretty exceptional performances here in the first 5 weeks of the season. He's got top 5 finishes in all but 1 race, and I won't say anything other than a malfunction on the team. One of those technical malfunctions that they might have messed something up in the pit area. It happens in racing. They passed inspection. It was nothing to do with technical inspection, but it was something they did to the car that had a reverse effect of what they wanted it to do, and it kind of struggled that night. But he still had a top 10 run that night, so he's been strong all season here. I mentioned he's the 5th different winner in the first 5 races of the season. And Josh, how difficult has that competition been? I mean, it must feel good to go out there on Saturday night. And, I kind of feel like you dominated most of the race. You got right up to the lead there by halfway, a restart there at the end. But overall, I mean, you guys have had a lot of speed here in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. I mean, the competition here, watching all of these years, the late models down at Seekonk are second to none, if you ask me. I mean, anybody can win any given week. So to rip off a win, it's definitely above our expectations going into the first 5 or 6 weeks here. We were hoping for some strong top 10 finishes, perhaps a podium finish. Still looking to gain some speed in the car. We've done that. And I think there's still more speed in it, and learning who we can race with and who we can't.
Yeah, and Josh has been really strong speed-wise. And Josh, I think that's probably, and I think you'll agree, a testament to Steve Blaze. And those race fans out there know Steve from his son, Austin Blaze, competing at Seekonk for many years. Austin won races in the Sportsman division and also in the late models, came close in the pro stocks as well. And Josh, he's good friends with you, and I think he's been a big part of this as well for you to get the speed and be able to do this on a weekly basis in general.
Yeah, he definitely is. Steve and I, we've been friends for a really long time, but we've always done our own thing. And with not much going on with him and his kid this year, he asked if we were doing something, and he's kind of the one that put this whole deal together and really pushed me to come back to Seekonk. I mean, if you really think about it, we're a relatively new team and just starting to gel. So I think there's a lot more to come of this, and I'm really looking forward to it. Steve's a smart man,
yeah.
and he's dedicated, and I mean, he's in the shop right now. He's here every night.
Yeah, definitely. Steve's definitely one of those guys that's going to help Josh steer to the front. I mean, expectation-wise here going forward, you got your first win. I'm sure the goal is a second win, a third win. But how much are you looking at those point standings I mentioned here? 5 weeks in, we haven't had a rain out on Saturday, knock on wood. We have not gotten a Friday night in. due to Mother Nature. You never know when it might rain on a Saturday and delay, but the races are clicking off here, and you're showing that you can consistently be up front. So points must be on your mind at least somewhat here as we enter the middle of the summer here in the month of June.
I mean, let's face it, all of us say we don't pay attention to points, but we all do. It's just a fact of the matter. For me, I know personally when I get to the racetrack on Saturday, I go out and do the best I can to finish all the laps. So, I mean, you do definitely think about it during the week and you talk about it in the shop, but when it comes race day, we focus on the task at hand, whether it be we know we have a car to win or we don't, and take the best that we can and move on to next week. So that's kind of our mindset.
Yeah, he's going to be looking forward to going 2 for 2, which is something we have not seen in the late models yet this year. We'll see if Josh can become the first 2-time winner in the division. You look at the other winners that have been to victory lane, Vinny Renegado, Jerry DeCaspari's on that list, and there's a couple others on that list that I'm blanking on here right now. But Josh is going to look to try to become the first 2-time winner of the year, and so are those other drivers as well coming up this coming Saturday night in the 30-lap main event. For the sake of having it out there, Tommy Adams also picked up a win earlier this year in the late models, and so did Ryan Lynham. Josh, before we let you go, I think there's some sponsors on that number 29 you probably want to give a shout out to, maybe some rest of the crew, maybe a future wife, some other people that have been helping you here along the way.
Oh, definitely my fiance Allie. She's a huge supporter, long-time race fan, and definitely Allie. But the sponsors: Chuck and Auto Parts, Hawkeye Fence, Souza Media. Thank you, Kyle. Bay State Lawn and Landscape, and then I got to give a huge thanks to my brother Jeremy. He's been a supporter of mine since I got into this in 2016. Without him, I wouldn't be doing any of this. So, huge thanks to Jeremy. And then the rest of the guys, of course, Steve, Mark, Kevin, my dad. Most people don't know, but he resides in Florida, and he flies up here just about every week or stays for a few weeks. So I can't thank him enough for all his support. My mom. And just all the fans, thank you for all coming out. And it's fun to be back and good to see fans in the stands.
Yeah, nice to see the fans back. Looking forward to the remainder of the 2021 season in that competitive late model division. We'll see if Josh can become the first 2-time winner. And as we go through the course of the season, it looks like he is going to be one of the drivers we'll be talking about when it comes September and the time for the championship. Josh, thanks for a few minutes. Appreciate you joining us here on the Race Day Rewind podcast, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again here probably after another feature win later in the season.
Well, thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me, and great job with everything you do.
All right, that's been Josh Hedges. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will preview this coming weekend of action and hopefully, cross your fingers now, a Fast Friday race day for the first time in 2021. Stick with us. All right, welcome back from the break. Nice to hear from Josh Hedges. Congratulations to him on the win in the Everts Auto Parts late models, and also nice to hear from Amy Arsenault. Nice solid 4th place finish for her in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. Again, want to thank DA Ivory Store for joining us at the track last Saturday night. Nice to have them on board. Congratulations to Chad Baxter in the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman. Barry Shaw in the Everts Auto Parts, number 85 in the Chaz Auto Body Sport Division. Sport Trucks, Dave Darling in the Pro Stock Division. 3 guys there that I just mentioned been dominant in their divisions, and Josh Hedges, of course, picking up the victory in the Everts Auto Parts late models. Again, the 5th different winner in the first 5 races for a competitive division. This coming Saturday night, we are back on the track once again for some summer fun at the 3rd Mile Oval. Depending on when you're listening to this, you might catch it the first night and recognize that there is a Wednesday night show this week as well. The Isma Super Modifieds are in town for the Boston Louis Seymour Memorial, joined by the NEMA Midgets and NEMA Lights. NEMA and NEMA Lights will be handling the Boston Louis Memorial portion of the evening. ISMA is handling their portion of the evening with a 100-lap feature in their return to the 3rd mile for the first time in just about a decade. Going to be nice to see the Wing Warriors on Wednesday night. Friday night, I hope we will finally get the Everts Auto Parts Fast Friday series getting underway. Everett's a major sponsor of the Friday night series, along with Helger South Coast Power Equipment in the Pure Stock Division, Seekonk Grand Prix in the Bandolero Division, and Nick's Pit Stop in the Legends Cars Division. 5 divisions of racing. We've rained out the first 2 weeks. I'm not even going to check the weather for Friday. Don't care. I'm going to anticipate that it's going to be good. We'll see how it goes. So, Friday night, 7 o'clock. Tickets are $10 for adults. Legend Cars, Pure Stock, Sport 4s, and 2 divisions of Bandoleros. Openers of the Triple Crown, some divisions there on Friday night. Saturday night, June 12th, back on track, 6 p.m., $15 for adults. Pro Stocks for 40 laps. Late models for 30. The Sportsman will go 30 of their own laps on Saturday night in a Helger South Coast Power Equipment Power 5 race. And round 2 of the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series for the Sport Truck division is coming up on Saturday night. 35 laps for them. Of course, the first round of the Triple Crown, it was Barry Shaw taking the victory in the number 85. We will see who is going to make the finals, because at the end of the second round, we will tell you who the final 4 drivers are in the Triple Crown Series for the Sport Truck division. And then the finale of the Sport Truck Triple Crown coming way out Saturday night, August 21st. So you got a couple months here before we got to worry about the finals of the Triple Crown for the Sport Truck. But this coming week, 35 laps on hand. Some other events coming up this month you're going to want to know. Friday, June 18th, Fast Friday. The 19th on a Saturday night. Cisco Boston night at the races with a 50-lap late model special. 25th, Fast Friday. 26th, Pro Stocks Diamond Race, 50 laps. And the late models will go for 45 that night. Then the big one rounds out June. Wednesday night, June 30th. $10,000 to win for the Tri-Track Open Modified Series. 350 Small Block Smack Super Modifieds, and the NEMA Lights will be back for the 50-lap Dave Steele Memorial. One more thing to note, Saturday, July 3, tickets are available for the Independence Day Thrill Show at Seekonk Speedway. So nice to say that, and we will be so happy to be back at full capacity once again for a thrill show. And the Mega Fireworks. Mega Disposal jumping on board to sponsor Mega Fireworks. Many of you know our fireworks are probably the best in the region, and Mega Fireworks is going to be probably even more impressive, so don't miss that on Saturday, July 3rd. Tickets are available for all Seekonk Speedway events in 2021. You can find them at seekonktickets.net. Purchase them ahead, pass the line at the track, get right in, get your seat, something at the concessions, and enjoy a Friday or Saturday or Wednesday at the races in 2021. That's it for this week's edition of the Race Day Rewind podcast. Thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Kyle Souza. The podcast series is presented by Souza Media. Thanks to Ed St. Germain behind the screens. He's pushing all the buttons and merging it all together to get us a full podcast series. Continue to download the series if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. Or if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel and continue to watch our podcast series over the course of the year. We're going to be introducing a couple more division spotlights with some of our sponsors, and we will continue the Race Day Rewind series throughout the 2021 season. Again, enjoy the rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. Hope to see everybody at the track. Cross your fingers for good weather on a Friday, and we'll talk to everybody again next week.